Hi everyone, we're back to do lesson 3.2 part 2. So it's related to part 1. We're going to use some of what we learned in part 1 and some of the information from part 1 to continue with part 2. So under the problem situation, let's take a look at what it says there. It says, let's return to the problem situation from the previous lesson. Recall that Jenna's job requires her to travel. She owns a 2006 Toyota 4Runner, but she also has the option to rent a car for her travel. In either case, her employer will reimburse her for the mileage using the rate set by the Internal Revenue Service. In 2014, this rate was set at 56 cents per mile. Calculate how much profit Jenna makes after she pays her expenses in the situation where she rents a car, using information from question 4 of the last part, and in the situation where she drives her own car, using information from question 5. Enter your calculations in the table below. Okay, now one important thing to notice here in this table is that just to keep us on our toes, they switch these two, right? So we did rental first. So this is question 4 from the previous part, and this is question 5. Okay, so when you're doing this, make sure you're looking at the right information. So, what we did so far is that we figured out the total cost to Jenna. That's what we had at the end of last lesson. So the rental cost, which is question 4 that we did first, was $147.90. Remember, that was the gas, the rental fee, and the tax. The cost for her own car was $82.10. That was the cost of gas, maintenance, tires, and repair. So that was from the last lesson. Okay, so there are a couple other things it would like us to find. So we want to find the cost per mile, and we want to find her profit after expenses. Let's first go to the cost per mile, okay? So think about what that means. And we've done these ratios before, cost per mile. So if she is using her own car, then we know the cost is $82.10. And that's the cost for going 386 miles. Just like we did in Module 2, we're using those units, cost or dollars per mile. We can divide that, and we are going to get 21 cents. So think of it as a simple division problem. If I draw a little picture here, this is her trip. Okay, here's where she starts out, here's where she ends up. It's 386 miles. So if I were to split this up into 386 miles, each one of them would cost 21 cents. And if I added the 21 cents, or if I multiplied 21 cents times 386, that would give me that $82.10. Okay, it's what every single mile costs. Same idea here. So now pause the video. I want you to figure out the cost per mile for a rental car. So same idea. What's the cost of a rental car? How many miles is she going? Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and try doing that one on your own. Okay, so the cost of the rental car is $147.90. She's still going 386 miles. So I have the same trip. It's still split into the same 386 miles, but you can tell that the cost per mile is going to be more because my costs have to add up to $147, not just $82.10. So when I divide this, I get that the cost for the rental car is 38 cents per mile. Okay. We'll use these coming up in another portion of this lesson. But let's go over here to her profit after expenses. So remember when we talked about profit earlier. Profit is you get some money. Let's say you have a lemonade stand. At the end of the day, you have $20 in your little shoebox that you're keeping your money in. But then you remember, oh, I have to pay mom back $5 for my lemonade. Okay, so now your profit is 15. It's what you still can keep after you've paid your expenses. So how is she getting profit? Well, remember that her employer is reimbursing her a certain amount. So her employer is paying her 56 cents per mile. Since we're going to be dealing with a lot of cents, let's write this way. Right, 56 cents per mile. For every mile she drives, she is going to get 56 cents. Now, you might know what you want to do with that. You might also use dimensional analysis. We could say 56 cents for every 1 mile. I'm trying to figure out how much money she's going to get. I want miles to cancel out. I'm going to put my 386 miles right here. Okay. Or you could think 56 cents for the first mile, 56 cents for the second mile. I could add 56 386 times, or the shortcut to that is multiplying. Okay, so either way, when I do that, she is getting paid $216.16. This is what she is getting paid by her employer. Okay, again, her employer doesn't care how she gets to this job. She can walk and make $216.16 profit. She could fly, she could pay $800 for a plane ticket, they're still only going to pay that. So however much she makes as profit is really up to what she decides to pay for her transportation. So she gets $216.16. If she took her own car, her expenses were $82.10. So think about how you will know what her profit is, how much she made after paying for the expenses for her car. And then think about the same thing for the rental car. She gets $216.16. She had to pay $147.90. How are you going to figure out what her profit is? So again, pause the video, see what you can do with doing these two spots. Okay, so hopefully you thought about the fact that she made $216.16. She had to pay $82.10, right? Those were her expenses for her own car. For the rental car, she made that same reimbursement amount. She had to pay $147.90. Okay. So in either case, we're going to subtract. So in this case, if she takes her own car, she makes a profit of $134.06. If she gets a rental car, she makes a profit of $68.26. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, pause the video, go back and make sure you understand where we came up with these. And of course, anything that you have questions on, make a little note by it in your book, and then you can ask me about that on Zoom or by email. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, the rest of this lesson, is deciding or looking at information when things about the trip change, okay? So we know this is her cost, these are her costs based on a certain length trip, a certain cost of gas, certain car. Things are going to change. The gas price and the length of the trip are going to change, and we're going to see how that affects the cost per mile. Okay, so in 2A and 2B, these are talking about the tables that are on the next page. So it says, determine Jenna's cost of a round trip for each given gas price and trip length if Jenna decides to rent a car. You already calculated the results of the first row of the table. Show your calculations in the table below. Since her trips vary in length, it is useful for Jenna to know the cost per mile of renting a car for each trip. Write your results in the table below. So that is, if you look at the next table, mine's kind of all written all over, but that first table at the top of the next page, you see there are 4 rows, okay? Each row is a different scenario. So the first row, gas price is $3.50, trip length is $3.86. Second row, gas price is $5, trip length is still $3.86. Third row, gas price is back to $3.50, but we're going double the length of the trip now. And then the fourth row, higher gas price and higher length of the trip. Okay, so we're going to go through each one of these. I'm going to leave this cost per mile because we will be using that in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to draw out this chart here. And again, this is the lesson where I really miss having all those whiteboards in our classroom. Okay, so we have $3.50 and 386 miles. And the cost for Jenna renting a car. So this is rental. And I put on my paper, just to remind myself, that the rental had 40 miles per gallon. Okay, so the cost for her renting a car, as it reminded us, we already figured this out. This is what we did in question 5, or 4, whichever that one was, 4 I guess, of the previous part of the lesson. Remember, for her rental, so this is all rental, we took the gas price, the rental fee, and the tax, and that was what added up to $147.90. And then when we divided right here, right, $147.90 divided by the 386 miles, we got 38 cents per mile. Okay, so that first scenario we have done already. So next, we want to do the scenario where we have $5 gas. We're still going 386 miles. Okay. Now, we want to be smart about this. Okay. We don't want to start from scratch every time we have a new scenario. We've got 8 scenarios to figure out. 4 here and 4 for her driving a car. So we do not want to start from scratch every time. Okay. So let's think about where that rental amount came from. If you remember, we said that the rental cost is gas plus the rental fee plus tax, right? So this is the overall rental cost. Well, as the trip changes, as the gas price changes, as the length of the trip changes, that's not changing our rental fee. Now, in real life, if it was enough of a change of miles that we needed it for an extra day, that could, right? But in our scenario here, this is just a flat fee. Or she could just do all this in one day. So the gas cost will change if the gas costs more or if we have to drive farther, or both. The rental fee and the tax will not change. So let's just remember that the rental fee was $98.98. And the tax, let me go remind myself what the tax was. If you look back, the tax was $15.14. So altogether, this is $114.12. That's the rental fee and the tax. So if we figure out the gas price in each case, then we can just add the $114.12 to get our total for the rental car. Okay, so now let's think about how we figured out the gas price. We did dimensional analysis. And we said we wanted to find something that had a cost, right? That was our unit. Let me do it down here so I have a little more space. Okay, so we started out with something we knew. We started out with something that had $1 in the numerator, and we said that gas was $3.50 for 1 gallon. And then we said, well, we know that for this vehicle, 1 gallon goes 40 miles. And then we know that altogether her trip was 386 miles. And this let us cross out all of our units, right? So this was how we did it before. And then we multiplied across the top and across the bottom and divided and got our gas price. So this is our cost of gas. So what I have here is the information that we used for the top row. Okay, I'm going to stop the video before I can't upload it, and then I'll be right back.